Good afternoon, and welcome to our first Queued Up Mobility Briefing. These briefings are intended to bring you the latest happenings from the mobility sector in short segments. If you ever miss a broadcast or want to see all that we've recorded, they're all housed off of our website at NAIS.com. Now I would like to introduce today's speaker. Paul Ajegba is the director of the Michigan Department of Transportation, where a lot of groundbreaking work is taking place in planning, designing, and adapting infrastructure to support connected and automated vehicles. He will talk about that and give us some insight on the recent agreement reached with the startup, Cavnu, to create a new connected corridor connecting Detroit and Ann Arbor in southeast Michigan. With that, I want to turn it over to Paul and his communications director, Jeff Cranston. Gentlemen, take it away.
Hi, I'm Jeff Cranston, Director of Communications at the Michigan Department of Transportation, and I'm here today with MDOT Director Paul Ajegba to talk about driving innovations and everything that MDOT has been doing as kind of a pioneer in efforts toward the future of mobility. Given the times that we live in, we're having a socially distanced conversation, but I think we can still make this effective in terms of communicating the message. So Director, thanks for taking time to do this.
Thank you, Jeff. Glad to be here with you.
So let's talk first about work zones, and we know from studies that work zones are among the most difficult environments for connected and automated vehicles to navigate. We're doing some testing right now on the I-75 modernization project, big project in Oakland County, north of Detroit. Can you talk about how that amplifies the safety for men and women working on the roads and bridges and what we could learn from that?
Well, again, thank you, Jeff, for having me. This is a great opportunity to describe what we're doing on I-75. I-75, as you know, is a corridor that we are really working to make safer for the 250,000 motorists that uses that corridor on a daily basis. We've finished segment 1, segment 2 is just about done, and segment 3, it's coming along very nicely as well. What this innovative device does is help us collaborate with manufacturers of safety apparels and equipment to see how well these devices work in construction zones. What we found out is that by injecting these devices in safety apparels, it helps the drivers to know where the workers are on a regular basis. And we believe that with time, as we perfect this technology, it'll help drive down crashes in construction zones.
And that's what we mean by V2X.
Exactly.
Vehicle to everything.
Exactly.
Communication. So talk a little bit about as connected and automated vehicles grow in their use, and all the studies, all indications are that we're going to start to see more of them over time. What effects will this have on infrastructure planning and what MDOT does in the future?
Well, again, I think the idea of autonomous vehicles is to drive down, is to enhance safety and efficiency, right? Last year, there were over 37,000 recorded fatalities in highways. The idea is that with time, as we integrate connected autonomous vehicles into our daily routine, that will drive down the crashes on our freeway, and that's a good thing, and drives efficiency as well. So we think this technology is just at the infant stage. With time, we're going to start seeing the results of that. I mean, the OEMs, they've done a great job so far with a lot of safety devices in those vehicles. And we, as state highway operators, we've tried to do a lot too to drive down this crash rates in our highways. For instance, we have rumble strips on our shoulders for a lane departure. We have a lot of things that we're doing to kind of enhance that. But I think on the autonomous vehicle side, having a lot of devices like a backup system, a distance system in a vehicle, it helps to drive safety and drive that number down.
Well, when you talk about the vehicles communicating with the infrastructure, the first significant foray into that for MDOT was the Flex route on US 23 north of Ann Arbor, and that's a project that happened on your watch as the University Region Engineer, and something that you were a champion for and had to fight at all levels to get it. It's turned out to be a great success. Hopefully we can grow it. But could you talk about that and how you think that is the future of infrastructure communicating with vehicles?
Absolutely. That's a project, as you said, near and dear to my heart. A lot of people were instrumental in the success of that project. We had a great team in the University region that came together and said, well, this is the future of our industry. Let's put the first one out there. And I'm always excited every time I drive through there, see that all the hard work we put in really came to bear. But yes, that's an example of where I see the future of our industry going. Because part of what we've done since that project has been in place is that we've been able to do a lot of testing of pavement markings, testing of signs, how do they interact with autonomous vehicles. We've done so many great innovative things with that project that the benefits of that project, I think it's still bearing itself out, and I'm really happy with the work we did there.
Well, let's expand a little bit on the work zone safety aspect of this. As you know, we've had some pretty horrific crashes in work zones recently, which is very troubling anytime, and it's especially troubling and a little puzzling now because, as we know, traffic has been down in Michigan throughout the pandemic as much as 60% in the earliest days, and still an average of 20% across the state. Yet crashes, fatalities, serious crashes are up. So. Talk about near-miss systems and the benefits of a proactive safety approach, and how can data tools and video enhance traffic management?
No, it's a good point. I would tell you, when I first got out of college and started working at MDOT, I had an old boss that always say, near misses don't count, because we didn't have any way of recording them. If somebody approaches them and says, well, we think we need a signal at this intersection because I almost got hit. Well, we'll go out and look at the crash data. And if the crash data doesn't bear it out, we don't put a signal there, because why? Yeah, you almost got hit, but that doesn't count. So that's a reactive way of looking at safety, right? So we've kind of evolved to a point now where we're doing proactive monitoring of intersection. I'll give you a good example. Downtown Jefferson and Randolph, we put a DAC, roadside unit out there, camera. This is one of the most high crash location in our area. And what we found out is that out of the 35, 33 of them could have been avoided if we take proactive measures. So being able to have those kind of on-time information to help us engineers maybe rethink the way we design roads, or what are the safety measures that we need to put in place so that we don't have those kind of near misses, either with vehicle and pedestrian or vehicle to vehicle.
So talk about how we, as government, support private industry. I mean, you talked about that collaboration with the OEMs and certainly with the makers of safety equipment. But since Michigan's deployed more than 500 miles of connected and automated vehicle testing equipment along freeways, what does that mean to the startups and giving them the opportunity to test their newest applications, and what investments are available to startups in Michigan so that that we're supporting them, supporting our major industries, our major employers?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things I am really proud of as MDOT director, and quite frankly, us as an organization, is that we've been able to be very proactive and collaborating with all the OEMs out there, the entire industry, because we recognize compared to a whole lot of other states, we jumped ahead of this and decided, well, this is the future and we need to be a part of it. I always give credit to my predecessor and the former governor for working on legislation that allow a lot of startups to see Michigan as a place to come and test their product. And then we had a new dynamic governor came in and said, yes, we're going to pick up where they left off, we're going to take it to another level. And that's the result of what you're seeing out there, that, startups are willing to come to Michigan because we have MCD, we got ACM out there, American Center for Mobility. Those are controlled testing environments. And we're saying once you have done testing them in those controlled environments, if you want to bring them out to the real world and interact with other vehicles and really test how it works, the legislation is there for you to do that. But us as a state organization, what we could do, as you said, we've got 500 miles of different devices out there to help with this kind of testing, platooning, and you name it. I just mentioned that roadside unit in downtown Detroit. These are things that we can do as a government entity to help spur innovation in the private sector.
Very good.
So let's talk a little bit about the M1 Connected Corridor Grant Project and, looking at the current environment on Woodward Avenue, what ITS capabilities do you think would best serve the citizens of Detroit and surrounding communities?
Mm-hmm. No, that's a very good question, Jeff. One of the things we did, as a matter of fact, based on some of the results we got from that Jefferson-Randolph intersection pilot program that I mentioned earlier, we were able to apply for grant, and we got $11 million from the government to improve the Woodward Corridor. As you know, Woodward Corridor going towards the entertainment district there. You have baseball, football, theater, basketball, hockey, everything happening in such a very small radius. And what you end up is mobility is very important, especially when these events let out. So this grant is going to help us to do a lot of things to improve the mobility in that corridor. You have M1 rail, that's another piece. So this grant will help us to install some roadside units that do signal preemption so that vehicles like transit and M1 rail will have priorities to get through. It'll help with backup detections. The wave of the future is be proactive. And I think if we continue to make proactive changes in the way we look at mobility, we will be able to keep working towards that towards zero debt goal, and that's the bottom line.
Yeah. So in terms of being proactive and thinking about trying to someday eliminate crashes, I think we made a bold statement when we announced our partnership with Cavnew, which is a startup that seeks to build a connected corridor between Ann Arbor and Detroit. Bloomberg said that it makes perfect sense for the state of Michigan to provide connected corridors given the automotive technology cluster already present here. So in preparation for what we know are going to be the CAVs of the future, how do these kinds of public-private collaborations benefit infrastructure owners and operators?
I will give credit to two outstanding leaders, the governor on one hand and Chairman Bill Ford on the other hand. They came together to say, we think we need to move from controlled testing environment and bring it out in the real world. V2X means vehicle to everything, right? How does vehicle interact with them? And I think creating this partnership, it's a good way to see how these vehicles are going to work. Creating a dedicated lane from Detroit all the way to Ann Arbor, I think it's a good thing. And we're going to be able to collect a lot of data. That's why working in partnership with the private sector, we get data from them, and it helps us to do better in our design moving forward. One of the good things that's come out of data sharing with the private sector is that MDOT realized, well, we're going to widen our lane markings from 4 inches to 6 inches, which will prevent lane departure accidents, right? We're going to extend our dotted lines and off and on ramps. And these are things that it's going to cost us money, but I think it enhance safety moving forward. So having that kind of collaboration, I think it helps both sides. And one of the things I will also give Ford a lot of credit for is they say this is not just about Ford and MDOT. We are just in the forefront of this, but we want to establish this for all the OEMs, GM, Chrysler, Toyota. It doesn't matter, whoever wants to come in and test their product, it's a good thing. I would tell you what I've observed with the OEMs is that even though they understand they're in competition with each other, they also know that they need each other. So sharing data and be able to work together to create an innovative environment is what we at MDOT is about, and whatever we can do to provide that infrastructure, create an environment where they can test their product is good for everybody.
So the folks at Cavenue, which is basically an alphabet company that took this on, have talked a lot about the social equity aspects and how this will enhance, transportation uses for underserved users now. Mobility for all. Could you talk a little bit about that?
No, I think it's a good point, because what I've always worried about is that this technology is moving so fast. We're going to leave a segment of the society or the community behind. And by the time we get to level 5 autonomous vehicles, that means vehicles that drive itself. People that have not been brought along as part of this are not going to accept it. So I think the equity part of it is when we're doing this kind of live testing, people see it, they can feel it. That's why I really applaud the governor for her moonshot idea about the auto show. She wanted us to have a demonstration project, an auto show where people come into Detroit from all over the world. They can get in these vehicles and take them to downtown. And we also have downtown circulation where anybody attending the auto show can be part of it. And I think that's what we need to do. We need to create an environment where people can touch, feel, and be part of this new revolution. And I think as long as we continue to do that, we can bring a segment of the community along. And it's a good thing if we can continue to be open-minded about that. And part of the Cavenue project is also transit. We're going to have transit being part of sharing this lane and sharing data. We're going to be collecting data, and I'm really excited about it. First of its kind in the world.
Yeah,
that's happening right here in Michigan.
Unfortunate that because of the pandemic, the governor's moonshot mobility challenge demonstrations did not occur this year because of the North American International Auto Show had to be canceled, obviously. But I think there's still hope that we can do something with that in the future.
Absolutely.
So thanks for this. I think this has been really informative, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jeff. Thanks for having me. And again, I think Michigan is in a unique position, and we want to continue our leadership role in this arena. And I really applaud the governor for saying, let's take it to the next level, and that's what we plan to do.
That was a ton of great information. We're so glad MDOT took the time to share that with us today. As I said earlier, if you missed any part of this broadcast, you can find it all in our Queued Up Mobility content at our website, NAIES.com. I look forward to speaking with you all at our next Queued Up Mobility event on Thursday, October 22nd, with executives from Ford, Harman, Amazon Web Services, and HERE Technologies. They will discuss how they're fostering cross-industry innovation to define and improve the in-vehicle experience for consumers. To register for this program, visit the Queued Up Mobility section off of our homepage. Thanks again for your time. We'll talk to you next week.